Welcome back to the FIFA World Cup 2022 predictions, and let's get right into it. We're about a month away from the tournament following the final international window. So we've seen all we're going to see from most of these squads heading into the World Cup. So let's see where things stand. Let's start with Group A. I have the Netherlands cruising easily. This Netherlands team is one of the best in the world right now. They're really one of the few European teams that's showing some true strength. They took down Poland and Belgium in the latest international window and took down their tough nations group. So this squad is looking very optimistic coming into both what I'd consider to be an easy group here in Group A, as Qatar is the pot 1 team. So let's move on to number 2. I've got Senegal. This team is talented. They've got Sadio Mane among others. So I think that they will be able to take it here for second in the group. As for Qatar, Ecuador, the hosting nation is never really shut out to 0 points. Even though Qatar is the second worst team by ranking in this tournament, I do think Qatar will beat Ecuador on that first match day to secure them third place in the group here. And then Ecuador obviously fourth. This is a strong Ecuador squad, though. They were third in CONMEBOL qualifying before falling down later on in the qualification. So I think that there's a variety of teams that could take second. Don't be surprised if Qatar or Ecuador squeak through there, but I think that the Netherlands will dominate all 3 of their games there. Moving on to Group B, which you can also see here, and this one is going to be fun. I think all 4 of these teams are pretty evenly matched. England hasn't won a game in their past 6. The U.S. is coming off 2 embarrassing fixtures in the final international window, a draw to Saudi Arabia and a 2-0 loss outright to Japan, which leaves many fans of the country scratching their head after what was a very triumphant summer season for this team, beating Mexico twice. And then you've got Wales, who obviously is the pot 4 team after coming through the qualifier here. So I think any of these teams could end up in any permutation of the standings here, but I'm going to go with England number 1. I think they'll take care of Iran and Wales outright. And then I think that the U.S. will draw England. They played in 2010. And that was a draw. As for the other games, I think U.S. is going to be able to take down Iran, even though they had a stellar last international window, drawing Senegal, who I'd consider to be the best African nation at these World Cup. And then finally, you've got the fact that Iran beat Uruguay, and they'll be playing for a variety of issues here at the World Cup. We'll see if they crack under that pressure or if that pressure makes diamonds for this team. And then Wales, I'm going to have 4th. This is Bale's last and only World Cup, so we'll see how that team responds. Again, I could see any of these teams in any of these positions, but for now, this is what I'm going for. In Group C, I have it pretty straightforward. Argentina at number 1 and not particularly close. I see them getting a point out of at least all 3 of their matches. Probably at least 7 to 9 points for them here, as they are unbeaten in their past 30 plus matches. And so this is just an Argentina team that is one of the favorites to win the cup outright. In second, I'm going to have to go with Poland here. Mexico is a team that I'm looking down upon these days. They haven't played great down the stretch here coming into this World Cup, whereas Poland did just beat Wales in their final Nations League match, and they were in a tough group with both the Netherlands and Belgium in there as well. So I think that they'll beat out a Mexico squad here who just lost to Colombia, who didn't even make the World Cup in their final game. And then Saudi Arabia is an interesting case here. Of course, they just drew the U.S., but I don't think this squad is that solid. They might get a little fan help of people coming over the border to watch these games. We'll see how that plays out, but I think that they will be a safe 4th here. Group D is one of the more interesting ones for me. I see it Denmark and France easily into the 1-2 positions. Tunisia has had a couple nice fixtures down the stretch here, beating Japan 3-0 and Chile 2-0. Those are two solid squads. Of course, they lost to Brazil 5-1 in their final match, but I just think that Denmark and France are the better teams here. Of course, Australia I have going in fourth. They didn't have a stellar qualifying campaign either. As for Denmark versus France, I'm going to take Denmark over France here, and this might be shocking to a lot of you, but they did beat France twice outright in that Nations League group. There is, of course, the curse of the past few World Cup champions not even getting out of the group. Germany last time suffered that feat, but I do have France getting out of the group, but I do have Denmark in first place just because they already beat France twice in that Nations League group. Moving on to Group E, we've got Germany, Spain, Japan, and Costa Rica in that order. I think that Germany is probably the best team in this group as of right now, although Spain is a close second. Japan has had a couple of interesting fixtures as they did beat the US, but drew Ecuador and lost to Tunisia, as I mentioned earlier, in their past few games. So I think this one is between a Spanish team who's also been up and down in the past window. They lost to Sweden but beat Portugal. And then, of course, you've got a Germany team in there who lost to Hungary and tied England. So there's a lot of question marks about them. But I just do think it's these two squads. Of course, Costa Rica could come back and be the underdog story here. But I see Japan in third. They're a feisty squad. And then Costa Rica in fourth here. I don't really see many upsets in this group. Will probably be straightforward. That Japan-Costa Rica game I have going to a tie with Japan edging them out just by goal differential there. Then Group F, we've got Belgium, Croatia, Canada, and Morocco. And a lot of people are saying that Canada could take a spot from Croatia in this group, Belgium being number one. I'm going to keep Belgium at number one, even though, of course, they lost to the Netherlands, but they haven't faltered other than that, and it's a really hot Netherlands squad there. So we're going to keep them at number one. But another shocking result was Croatia coming out of the group in the Nations League with Denmark, France, and Austria. They won it outright. Their past two fixtures were a win over Austria and a win over Denmark. And then over the summer, they also beat France and Denmark again. So this is a really solid Croatia squad. And of course, form is temporary, but I think going into this World Cup, they have to be confident. And then Morocco is also an interesting team with Ziyech there. They had some coaching changes, a lot of turnover, but they'll have a chip on their shoulder after an interesting World Cup last time for them as well. So I think this will be an interesting group, but I do see Croatia getting out of there along with Belgium, but I could easily see Canada or even Morocco stealing a spot. In Group G, I see this one as being pretty straightforward. The top three teams, Brazil, Switzerland, and Serbia, were all in the same group in the last World Cup, and it played out in exactly this fashion. Brazil is on a heater right now. This team, I see them as a bit overrated, but not for getting out of this group. I think they're more solid than a Switzerland team that is also very good and is on a bit of a heater recently after toiling a bit at the beginning of the Nations League. Their last three fixtures were 1-0 win over Portugal, 2-1 win over Spain, and then a 2-1 victory over Czech Republic. So they're coming in on a bit of a heater. That's why I have them in second, and then Serbia third, and Cameroon is just lucky to be here, honestly. From an African nation standpoint, I don't have them getting a single point here. I see this group as all victories, no ties. Brazil with 9, Switzerland with 6, and Serbia with 3. But we'll have to see what happens there. Finally, Group H, I'm going to have a bit of a shocker. Portugal at 1. I think this will be an easier group for Portugal. Their past slate, they lost to Spain but beat Czech Republic. I don't think that really says much about this squad. I think that they're going to take this group. It's likely Ronaldo's final World Cup, so we'll see how they respond to that. But Uruguay is a team that's not really getting much hype themselves. They're coming off a loss to Iran, but they did beat Canada in that last international slate. I'm not sold personally on this Uruguay team, so I'm going to pick a shocker in South Korea over them in this group. This South Korea team, obviously, they have some nice attack with Son and a couple other stars spread throughout the roster. Their last 2 matches were a 1-0 win over Cameroon and then a 2-2 draw against Costa Rica. So we'll see what happens in this group, but I have South Korea getting in second there. Let's move on to the round of 16. The first match we've got is the same as the past video, where we have Netherlands against the US, and this is going to be a blowout. I foresee it 5-1 and in the Netherlands' favor. The US just did not sell anything to me over that last international window. The Netherlands have been one of the hottest teams in Europe, if not the world. We're going to have Netherlands easy there. Second game, we've got Argentina against France. And while I did not pick France to lose out of their group, I'm going to have their run ending here against Argentina. Argentina, as I said, is on a heater recently, and they've played just as good as any nation down the stretch going into the World Cup and are one of the favorites for doing so. Then England against Senegal. As I said, I'm not sold on this England team at the moment, and for that reason I'm going to have Senegal taking this match. Obviously, this is the most talented African nation, as I've said. They haven't played many friendlies recently. They did draw Iran, but I think that they could beat England here in a penalty shootout or something similar. I'm just not sold on England due to their recent results. I don't think that Southgate can take them to even the quarterfinal here. I think their defense is a bunch of question marks, and I don't really trust this England team, and they might underestimate Senegal and lose because of it. In the next round of 16 match, I'm going to take Denmark easily over Lewandowski and Poland. I think that Denmark is the better squad all around here. Give me Denmark easily, say 3-1 in that one. Then Germany against Croatia, and this is a great matchup. But give me Germany here. They haven't looked the best coming into this World Cup, but I think this is a team. They have some experience, and I do think that they can rebound going into this World Cup and beat Croatia here. In the next match, I'm going to take Brazil easily over South Korea. They were lucky that I even put them in here. I think they played in June, and it was 5-1, so this just is not going to be close. Give me Brazil by 4 goals again. The next match is very intriguing. We've got Belgium against Spain. I could see a lot of people picking Spain here, but I'm going to go with Belgium. Again, both of these teams have been up and down recently. Belgium lost to the Netherlands. Spain lost to Switzerland, of course. So we're going to pick Belgium here. I think they're the better squad top to bottom, and I believe in them just a bit more than the Spanish squad. Then finally, we're going to have Switzerland over Portugal here in what should be a great match. I see this one going to penalties as well, and Switzerland taking it that way. In these quarterfinals, I'm going to take the Netherlands over Argentina here. I just think that Netherlands is one of the hottest teams in the world right now after taking that stacked Nations League group. Argentina's played well, but a lot of people are picking Argentina in this spot, and I think Netherlands needs a little love here. Then I'm going to take Brazil easily over Germany here. I think this is far enough for an up and down German squad. Of course, if they get here, they'll be rolling, but I think that Brazil is the better team at this moment in time. Then Senegal against Denmark. We're going to have Denmark here. I think that despite Senegal having the fact that they could be the first African nation to make it to the semifinals on their back, I think that Denmark is the more solid squad. So I think they have the staying power here, and they'd be one of the major underdog stories here because of it. Then we're going to have Belgium easy over Switzerland. I don't think this one will be close. Switzerland will have done well to just get this far, and I think that it's time for their run to end. Then in the semifinals, I'm going to take Netherlands over Brazil for pretty much the same reasons as over Argentina. I think Argentina's a little bit better of a team than Brazil at this point, if I'm honest, but I think that Netherlands will edge out this Brazil team that I think is a touch overrated. Obviously, I'm picking them to get to the semifinals, which is very far, but I don't think that they're the lock of the final match in the World Cup that everyone says they are. It's soccer, everything is random. Ultimately, over the course of one match, anything can happen. I'm going to take Netherlands in this permutation, and then I'm going to have Belgium cruise against Denmark. I think it's been quite enough for Denmark. So we're left with a final that's a border war here between Netherlands and Belgium. It's actually consequently the same final that we had in the spring, and obviously I'm going to pick Netherlands here just because they've already beat Belgium twice in that Nations League group, and they did so handily while experimenting with their lineup. So I think this is probably one of the most talented teams right now and hottest teams certainly in the world is this Netherlands team, and we're going to pick them to end their World Cup drought as such. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to comment your predictions below. We had a couple of hot takes here. Put in your hot takes as well and subscribe to the channel.